Good evening, and welcome to a global debate on whether multinational corporations should pause commercial deep-sea mining in areas beyond national jurisdiction until fair rules and strong protections are in place. Here is the background in brief, because clarity matters and time is short. Nations have negotiated a high seas treaty to safeguard biodiversity in waters that belong to everyone, and it is moving toward real-world implementation. At the same time, the International Seabed Authority is still shaping a mining code for the ocean floor, and the details of fair enforcement and accountability remain unsettled. Tonight, the progressive team argues for a temporary suspension to protect the commons and ensure justice, while the conservative team argues against a pause to protect energy security, innovation, and market access. Both sides will keep the language simple, the logic tight, the jokes tasteful, and the facts front and center. Progressive team, you have the floor to present your case.
Thank you, and here is our claim in one clear sentence. We should suspend deep-sea mining beyond national borders until the High Seas Treaty is up and running and a fair, enforceable mining code exists.
That pause is not fear, it is the precautionary principle, because ecosystems that took millennia to form can be ruined in weeks, and compensation after harm does not restore life.
Justice demands that no company jump the queue while the rules are unfinished, because the high seas are a shared inheritance and the benefits and burdens must be fairly distributed.
Data from pilot studies show sediment plumes can travel far and disturb species we barely understand, so a pause is a rational seatbelt while the science catches up.
Markets reward speed, but legitimacy rewards patience, and no brand wants to be remembered as the one that scraped the seafloor before the referees arrive.
A suspension also gives space to design equitable benefit sharing, so that small island communities are not spectators, while large firms collect the winnings.
Energy transition metals matter, but there are alternatives, such as better recycling, smarter product design, and urban mining, which buy time without gambling with the deep.
We propose a public awareness drive that uses clear visuals, student hackathons, and influencer partnerships to explain why law first and extraction later is common sense.
In short, pause now, finish the rules, build trust, and then decide with eyes open, instead of charging ahead and asking the ocean to send the bill to future generations.
If fairness means anything, it means not letting the fastest ship define the law for everyone else, so we should press pause and educate the world on what is at stake.
Thank you, progressive side, for a crisp opening grounded in duty and caution. Conservative team, the stage is yours for the counter case.
Our position is straightforward. A blanket suspension is the wrong tool because it punishes readiness, slows innovation, and keeps critical minerals out of clean energy supply chains when reliability is already fragile.
Real families pay the price when batteries get pricier and grids stall. And delaying responsible extraction strengthens suppliers who do not share our values of transparency or labor standards.
The responsible path is to allow tightly licensed projects under existing oversight while the mining code is finalized, using strict monitoring, bonds, and stop switches to prevent harm.
A zero or nothing approach silences engineers who have spent years building quieter vehicles, smarter sensors, and containment systems that reduce risk to wildlife.
Security matters, because if democracies cannot source materials, then autocracies will write the playbook, and fairness will be an empty slogan.
We welcome education campaigns, but they should inform rather than frighten, and they should include voices from workers and coastal suppliers who want opportunity, not permanent delay.
Let us test, verify, and adjust instead of freezing progress, and let the rulemaking proceed in parallel with controlled commercial steps, so evidence, not headlines, leads the way.
In sum, do not slam the brakes on the entire sector, steer it carefully, watch the gauges, and deliver the cleaner future people need at prices families can afford.
Progressive team, please proceed with your targeted attack.
If a company rushes into the abyss without finished rules and damages a habitat older than our species, then every shareholder letter that boasts of responsibility will read like satire.
Conservative team, you may respond with the defense.
A carefully licensed pilot with live monitoring, performance bonds, and automatic shutdowns does not equal a reckless gold rush, and pretending otherwise turns nuance into noise.
Conservative team, continue with your offensive push.
Every month of blanket delay keeps grids brittle, raises battery costs and gifts leverage to regimes with weaker environmental safeguards, which is hardly the justice anyone claims to want.
Progressive team, your defense is next.
The fastest way to lose public trust is to mine first and promise reports later, because legitimacy is not a receipt you print after the store closes.
Conservative team, prepare a coordinated attack with a leader and a supporter.
Our leader claim is simple. Allow controlled projects to proceed under strict oversight while the mining code is finalized, because evidence grows from measured practice, not from permanent pause.
Support follows with detail, independent observers, acoustic sensors, sediment tracking, and escrowed remediation funds create a testbed where bad actors are punished and good practices are scaled.
Thank you. Now the floor returns to the progressive side for a paired attack.
Leader case from our side is this. Do not turn the deep ocean into a live laboratory when the margin for error is extinction level for species we do not yet have names for.
Support is straightforward. Meta-analyses show that recovery for fragile deep habitats is not measured in election cycles but in human lifetimes. So prudence is not delay, it is discipline.
We will now hear a two-person defense from the conservative side, with one answering and one challenging.
Answer first. Tightly regulated pilots under existing authority are not a license to plunder. They are the only way to verify mitigation tools outside a brochure.
Challenge second. If you fear moral hazard, then answer this. How will you validate your worst-case models without any real-world trials? And how long should the world pay for guesswork?
Progressive side, please present a two-person defense, one to answer and one to identify weaknesses.
Answer first. The purpose of a pause is not to freeze knowledge, but to finish baseline mapping and finalize consent frameworks so that trials are actually bounded by law, rather than optimism.
Weakness next. Your plan relies on enforcement capacity that does not yet exist at the necessary scale, which means your pilot is only as strong as the weakest monitor and the cheapest fine.
Judges, we seek your midway impressions and encouragement, starting in the specified order.
At this moment, I lean progressive because their risk framing is concrete, and their language invites public buy-in, while the conservative case sometimes assumes regulators are superheroes who never sleep. So please keep sharpening the cost models and the accountability map.
I presently lean conservative because energy security and verifiable pilots sound pragmatic, while the progressive case risks turning into indefinite delay by another name, so both teams should quantify timelines and show me who pays when safeguards fail.
I am tilting progressive because the Commons argument is crisp, and the brand risk point is devastating, whereas the conservative side feels a bit too trusting of the same dashboards they are selling, so I urge you to translate your abstractions into daily household impacts without fear.
Round 2 begins. Fresh angles, please. And we pass to the conservative team to attack.
If high ideals cancel every controlled step, then cobalt and nickel will still be mined, just somewhere with fewer safeguards and less transparency, which offloads guilt without reducing harm.
Progressive team, your defense.
Shifting harm to hidden places is not a defense of ocean mining. It is an indictment of our failure to scale recycling, redesign devices, and build circular supply chains with urgency.
Progressive team, continue with a solo attack.
A treaty that protects the high seas is not a bureaucratic ornament, but a constitutional moment for the planet, and racing ahead before it is operational treats everyone else as afterthoughts.
Conservative team, your defense.
Operational does not mean perfect, and waiting for perfect is a clever way to keep the lights dim while congratulating ourselves for careful thinking.
Progressive team, prepare a two-person offensive with a leader and a supporter.
Leader statement. The case for pause stands because we can meet near-term mineral demand by pushing recovery rates, banning wasteful design, and prioritizing reuse across defense and consumer sectors.
Support detail, municipal e-waste programs, deposit schemes, and repair rights increase the metal we already possess, and every extra percentage point of recovery is a mine we do not open this decade.
Conservative team, mount a two-person offensive with a leader and a supporter.
Leader claim. Even an aggressive recycling ramp cannot meet projected demand for grid storage and electric mobility by itself, and scarcity taxes the poor long before it inconveniences the rich.
Support evidence, procurement data shows supply constraints already creating price spikes, so a credible path includes diversified sources, including the ocean. under rules that bite when broken.
Progressive team, you now offer a two-person defense, one to answer and one to counter with questions.
Answer point. Diversified sources are wise, but diversification that adds an irreversible ecological risk is not a hedge, it is a hidden liability that compounds over time.
Counter question. If your plan depends on flawless compliance at sea, which agency will board a non-compliant vessel in rough weather? And what happens when the satellite link fails during a plume spike?
Conservative team, close this sequence with a two-person defense, one answering and one pointing out weaknesses.
Answer first. Layered oversight from flag states, port state controls, independent auditors, and real-time public dashboards ensures that bad actors lose licenses and face civil claims that actually sting.
Weakness second, the progressive side invokes recycling as a silver bullet but quietly ignores the years it takes to redesign products, retool factories, and modify consumer habits at scale.
Progressive team, please continue your targeted attack in light of those points.
Public dashboards do not save a sponge or a coral that lives for centuries, and when the harm is done, a handsome settlement fund pays lawyers, while the habitat remains a headline and a memory.
Conservative team, your defense to that charge.
Financial assurances tied to measurable restoration and staged extraction corridors can limit footprint and push operators to prove recovery, not just promise it.
Conservative team, one more attack before we rotate.
If we cancel learning by doing, we will inherit dependency by design, and that dependency will be priced in currencies we cannot ethically accept.
Progressive team, your reply.
Learning by doing is wisdom when the lesson is reversible, but the deep sea does not hand out retakes, and the tuition fee would be charged to species that never volunteered.
We now return to a coordinated conservative attack with two voices, leader and supporter.
Leader line. The cleaner economy is a bridge we must build while we walk, and carefully governed ocean extraction is one beam among many.
Support line. Build the beam with guardrails, black box recorders, public data, and an off switch tied to independent thresholds, and you have risk that is managed rather than imagined.
Progressive team, a paired attack in response.
Leader statement. The Commons is not a corporate sandbox, and a pause until the treaty and code truly function is the bare minimum standard for stewardship.
Support statement. Use the pause to teach the world with clear storytelling, student competitions, and community labs where people learn how circular design beats extractive shortcuts.
Conservative team, two-person defense with answers and a probing challenge.
Answer first. Stewardship also means keeping promises to workers and families who expect affordable power and reliable transport this decade, not just in the next.
Challenge next. Will you commit to a hard date when your pause ends if benchmarks are met? Or is your caution a moving target that drifts each time the finish line nears?
Progressive team, two-person defense with answers and a precise critique.
Answer first. Yes, benchmarks can be set, such as completed habitat baselines, operational treaty bodies, tested enforcement protocols, and a benefit-sharing mechanism that reaches beyond corporate boardrooms.
Critique next. Your proposal speaks fluently about instruments and dashboards, yet it whispers about equity. And without equity, the project licenses become permission slips to privatize a public realm.
We will pause this exchange here and invite quick clarifications before moving to fresh subpoints.
Clarity from our side is that a pause aligned to verified milestones is not a veto on development, it is a contract with future citizens.
Clarity from our side is that pilots under real penalties are not greenwashing, they are the scaffolding on which safer industry is built.
Thank you, and we now revisit costs to households and paths that protect both nature and bills.
Households gain when trust is high, because trust lowers insurance costs, reduces protest delays, and keeps projects from dying in court after billions are spent.
Households gain when supply is steady, because steady supply keeps buses running, heaters working, and small firms from folding under price spikes.
Each side has pressed hard, and the judges will be eager for sharper numbers and clearer off-ramps.
Our off-ramp is visible. Finish the rules, build enforcement muscle, fund shared research, and set benefit floors that do not treat island communities as postcards.
Our off-ramp is also visible. issue limited licenses, demand third-party oversight, publish every reading to the public cloud, and yank the license the moment thresholds trip.
We close this segment with one-sentence visions from each bench.
A world that waits to know before it takes is a world that still has wonders left to teach us.
A world that learns while it builds is a world that keeps promises to both the planet and the people who live on it.
Before we close, I want to check for any overlooked angles or last points you feel the audience must hear.
One overlooked angle is how a pause creates time to map cultural values of ocean stewardship, not just mineral deposits.
A missed point is how a pause without supply planning can raise energy costs for families who already cut corners to pay the rent.
Another angle is that fair benefit sharing should be designed with island voices at the table, not added as a footnote.
Another point is that skilled jobs from responsible projects help coastal towns that have lost industries and cannot live on slogans.
We have also not discussed how green branding collapses if deep harm is discovered after production begins.
We have also not discussed how relying on hostile suppliers leads to geopolitical risks that spill into everyday life.
We now open a rapid free exchange with alternating turns, and I will keep it fierce but fair.
If your plan depends on enforcement that is not yet built, then your promises are architecture without steel.
If your pause depends on perfect science, then your caution becomes a velvet curtain that never rises.
Science does not need to be perfect to warn plainly that some damages cannot be undone by grants or apologies.
Risk can be reduced with real instruments, real thresholds, and real penalties that end careers when rules are broken.
Real penalties do not regrow a coral garden that took centuries to form.
Real scarcity does not wait for speeches when grids need batteries before winter.
Short-term scarcity can be eased by scaling recycling and smart procurement that puts reuse ahead of digging.
Recycling cannot deliver materials that were never mined, so your plan starts with wishful inventories.
We also propose design rules that cut wasteful metal use and extend device lifespans across sectors.
Design rules take time to implement, and time without supply is a tax the poorest pay first.
That is why a measured pause tied to milestones is prudent leadership rather than theatrical delay.
That is why measured pilots tied to stop switches are prudent engineering rather than reckless rushing.
Pilots in a fragile biome turn uncertainty into roulette when the house is nature and the chips are species.
Pilots with independent audits turn uncertainty into evidence and turn slogans into specification.
Evidence gathered after harm is a postcard from a place that should have stayed unscarred.
Evidence gathered under strict corridors and controls is how we learn what works without turning the map red.
You speak of corridors as if currents and plumes respect lines on a chart.
We speak of sensors and models that set boundaries with data rather than with wishes.
Data without legitimacy breeds backlash that halts projects in court and streets alike.
Legitimacy grows when leaders keep bills bearable and lights on while improving safeguards.
Bills fall when trust rises, because protest delays and legal risks shrink when the public believes the rules are real.
Bills fall when supply stabilizes, because factories can plan and households are not whiplashed by price spikes.
Stability built on fragile ecosystems is a tower on sand with a view that does not last.
Stability built on diversified sources is a bridge that holds even when one pillar shakes.
Diversification that adds irreversible risk is a hedge that sets the roof on fire to warm the room.
Diversification that adds monitored and limited risk is a calculated premium we pay to avoid larger failures.
We are asking to finish writing the rulebook before the whistle starts, which is basic fairness in any sport.
We are asking to run drills under supervision, so that the rulebook is tested against reality, which is basic competence in any sport.
Reality also includes the moral fact that the high seas are not a private racetrack.
Reality also includes the moral fact that reliable power is not a luxury for the privileged.
Power without prudence leaves a legacy of scars that cost more to treat than they ever saved.
Prudence without power leaves a legacy of promises that never warmed a classroom or moved a bus.
Then let prudence lead and power follow after the rules can actually bite.
Then let power proceed where rules already bite, so that we do not outsource our conscience to regimes with none.
Outsourcing our conscience is exactly what happens when pioneers race ahead and call it progress.
Outsourcing our conscience is exactly what happens when we pretend needs vanish, because pauses feel virtuous.
Virtue is not a feeling but a choice to avoid harm when the cost of being wrong is forever.
Virtue is also a choice to avoid dependence that makes us trade rights for shipments.
We must draw a line under the crossfire and move to closing stages, and I invite the progressive side to deliver its final statement with one voice for facts and one for persuasion.
The facts are these. Treaty bodies for the high seas are approaching operation, the mining code remains incomplete, deep habitats recover slowly if at all, and viable gains from recycling and design can buy the time needed to finish the rules.
To the judges and the audience I say this: a pause tied to clear milestones is not fear but fairness, and it secures trust so that when decisions come they are made with consent rather than regret.
Conservative team, your final statement follows with one voice for facts and one for persuasion.
The facts are these. Energy demand for storage and transport is climbing. Recycling alone cannot meet near-term needs. Monitored pilots can produce evidence, and layered enforcement can punish those who cheat.
To the judges and the audience I say this: progress under guardrails is how families keep power bills sane while we learn, and it is how democracies keep agency instead of renting it from rivals.
Judges, please deliver your closing evaluations with praise, a clear verdict, and reasons in the established order.
Both teams argued with fire and care, and my verdict favors the progressive side because their risk calculus was vivid, their equity plan was concrete, and their timeline was bounded rather than vague. The conservative side impressed me with operational detail, yet I saw a gap between proposed oversight and real enforcement muscle at sea.
Both teams presented serious paths, and my verdict favors the conservative side because they connected supply stability to household reality and outlined verification mechanisms that deserve a chance to prove themselves. The progressive side was strong on ethics, yet I need stronger cost modeling to avoid turning caution into silent rationing.
Both teams earned applause, and my verdict favors the progressive side because they framed the commons with precision, tied the pause to milestones, and showed how trust compounds into smoother projects later. The conservative side offered tools I admire, yet the confidence in dashboards outpaced the messy truth of boarding ships in rough seas.
By a vote of 2-1, tonight's winner is the progressive team, and we congratulate them for a compelling case. We also commend the conservative team for a rigorous challenge that raised the quality of the entire debate.
We are grateful for the chance to argue that caution can be courageous and that fairness is a form of power.
We thank our counterparts for the sharp questions, and we invite everyone to keep learning about the ocean that keeps our climate alive.
We appreciate the spirited exchange, and we will keep pushing for evidence that makes clean energy dependable for all.
We respect the verdict, and we hope the next steps include real pilots somewhere safe so that talk can meet proof.
Thank you to both teams and to our judges for the insight and the candor that carried this debate. Thank you to every viewer who stayed with us to the end and gave these ideas the attention they deserve. If you found value here, please tap like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a thoughtful comment with the point that moved you most. If you wish to support the show, please use the QR code at the lower right or the link in the description to send a donation that keeps debates free and independent. You will also find links in the description to other works from completely different series that you might enjoy next. We thank you again, we wish you well, and we hope to see you in our next debate.